Namaste, beautiful yogis. Welcome to a level 2 Vinyasa yoga class. The focus is gonna be on flexibility, but we're gonna work on balance, strength, and endurance. Starting at the front of the mat, let's swing the arms side to side, allowing for the hands to guide you here so that you can warm up your spine, coming onto the tippy toes side to side. And let's bring the right hand on the right hip, reach over to your right with your left hand and back, side bends, switching sides. Left hand on the left hip, reach over to your left with your right hand and you can reach back. Spinal extension. Hands behind the head, clasping, lifting the heart towards the ceiling, opening, feel the expansion. And let's reach out to the sides, twist, lock your hips forward and twist over to your left, hips facing forward, back to center, over to the right, back to center. And let's bring the left hand down the right leg, reach over with your right hand, tuck your tailbone under, change sides, back to center. Exhale, forward bend, bend the knees, wrap your wrists around your elbows and let your upper body hang. You can shake your head yes and no. Look over to your left and over to your right. Hands on the floor, step back in downward facing dog. Visualize your tailbone lifting as if it's being pulled up towards the ceiling, lifting as high as possible, elongating the spine. Walking in place here, spread your fingers wide open. Press equally into the outer and inner edges of the hands. Press into each and every knuckle. Pay attention to your thumbs. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Breathe into your hamstrings, back of your legs. Look between your hands and walk your feet between your hands. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look ahead of you, reach over your head. Come up to standing. Big breath in, reach over the head. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, look ahead of you, hands on the floor, step back, plank. Lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, roll on top of your toes, upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk in place here. Feel the back of your legs. Keep lifting your hips as high as you can. Press into your heels. Look between your hands, step your feet between your hands, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, coming up to standing, hands over the third eye, hands over the heart. Inhale, reach over the head, exhale, folding forward. Inhale, look ahead of you, hands on the floor, holding the breath, step into plank, lower down chaturanga. Inhale, open upward facing dog. Holding the breath, chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. You can walk in place here, you can stay steady. Pay attention to your body, observe your own practice. The benefits of practicing at home are that you are paying attention to your own body, to your own breath, and to your own practice. You're not being pushed to do anything you're not ready to do. You're following your own guidance. Stepping forward. Inhale, come up to standing. Hands over the third eye, hands over the heart. And let's come in chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look ahead of you, hands on the floor, plank. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up. Inhale the right leg up. Step the right foot between your hands. Drop the back heel down. Come up, warrior one. Hips facing forward. Rotate that left hip forward. Press into the outer edge of the left foot. Exhale, hands on the floor. One-legged Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Big breath in. Right leg comes up. Square hips. Step the right foot between your hands. Come up, warrior one. Pressing, rotating the right hip forward. Extending the tailbone slightly down. Press into the outer edge of the right foot. Relax your shoulders, hands, palms of the hands facing each other, here to protect the shoulders. Exhale, hands on the floor, one-legged Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pulling the belly in and up, Mula Bandha. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, step the foot between your hands. Inhale, warrior one. Relax your shoulders. Hands over the third eye, open, warrior two. You can take a little wider stance here. Try to have your arms parallel to the floor as much as you can visualize them. Exhale, windmill the hands on the floor, one-legged plank and Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Press the heel away from you. Step your foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Flat back. Relax the shoulders. Hands over the third eye, warrior two. Relax the shoulders. Soft but solid. Reach through the fingertips. Powerful yet soft. Exhale, both hands on the floor. One-legged plank, Chaturanga. Lift your right leg up. Upward facing dog. Lift the quadriceps here, lift the kneecaps. Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Observe your downward facing dog. Observe your state of mind in the beginning and compare it at the end of the practice. Inhale, right leg comes up. Step the right foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Breathe. Mula Bandha. Open into warrior two. Reach way ahead of you and either lower your elbow over your right thigh, or you can bring the hand on the inside of the right foot, depending on your level. Make sure that both sides of your torso are lengthening here. You're not curving your spine. Reach up and over your head with your left hand. Shoulders on top of each other. Great. Look down. Bring both hands on the floor. Let's take the right arm up. Press the back heel away from you. Press that right hip back. Reach with your right hand up and over your head, palm of the hand facing down. Press the right hip back. Softly inviting Ujjayi breath. Hands on the floor, one-legged plank, one-legged chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Softening and deepening the breath. Inhale the left leg up. Bring the left foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Flat back as you come up. Hands over the third eye, open into warrior two. Step your right foot a little further back to take a little wider stance here. Soften the shoulders, soften the fingertips, soften your gaze, soften the face muscles. Lift the arches of the feet. Externally rotate the right hip. Lower the left elbow over the left knee or the left hand on the inside of the left foot. Continue opening the right hip up, rotating the rib cage open, right rib cage open, spins open. Lengthen, reach with your right hand up and over your head. Lengthen the left side of your torso here. Keep the right shoulder above the left shoulder. Great, both hands on the floor. Spin, twist. Let's take the right hand on the floor, left arm up. Hands are reaching away from each other, allowing the shoulders to relax. Belly is softening and twisting. Reach up and over your head. Press the left hip back. This is great for digestion. All twists are going to improve your digestion. And one-legged chaturanga. Do your best. Upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga and exhale, downward facing dog. Spread the fingers wide open. Back to your mula bandha if you have forgotten. And let's come on to the tippy toes here. Bend your knees, lift the tailbone as high as you can and jump to the front of your mat. Chair pose. Sit back. All the way coming out of chair. Back bend. Reaching up and back. And come up to standing, hands over the heart. Chair pose. Sit back, press the hips back. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you. Hands on the floor, either jump or walk back into plank or chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. Step the right foot between your hands. Come up, warrior one. Hips facing forward. Shoulders are relaxing. Jaw is relaxing. Hands over the heart, open in warrior two. Externally rotating the left hip. Make sure your right knee is facing directly forward, pointing forward. And let's reverse the warrior. Right hand reaches up and over. Walk your left hand down the left leg. Really lengthen your torso here. Straighten your legs and continue reaching back. Lengthening, opening. Feel it in your torso, internal organs. And let's reach way ahead of us. Prepare for a triangle pose. Reaching forward with the right hand. lengthening as much as you can. And once you have reached as far as you can, then lower down into triangle pose. Lift the arches of your feet here. Continue externally rotating the left hip here. If you have a hyperextension in your knees, keep them slightly bent here. It's easy to hyperextend it, triangle pose. Great, let's bring both hands on the floor. And bending the right knee, you can lower the left knee on the floor. Keep the right knee above your ankle or behind. Hold here, tuck your tailbone under so that you can stretch your quadriceps and hip flexor. Great. Coming up, bringing the knee up, reach with your left hand forward, right hand forward, hands in prayer, twist. Left elbow on the outside of the right knee, lengthen through the crown of the head. Imagine a long line from your left heel all the way into the crown of the head. Twist as you exhale. Slowly coming out of this, lower your knee one more time on the floor, crescent lunge, reach back. Hands on the floor, press back into one-legged downward dog, one-legged chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to this practice. We're covering all the basic poses. Take the left leg up, step the left foot between the hands, come up, warrior one. This is a very much Ashtanga based Vinyasa yoga flow. So come back to it, it will give you endurance. And we're working on flexibility. Open in warrior two. We're working on flexibility through the standing sequence, and we're gonna work at the end too. And let's reverse the warrior, bending the left knee, reaching away from the knee. So the fingertips are reaching away from the left knee. Straightening the legs, reach back. Find a lot of length through your obliques. Coming up, reach way ahead of you. Prepare for a triangle pose, but first find the length in your torso and spine, then lower down. Open that right hip, rotate it. Press into the outer edge of the right foot. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Reach over your head with the right hand, palm of the hand facing down. Soften the fingertips. Both hands on the floor. Square your hips. Lower the right knee down. Breathe. Tuck the tailbone under. Tuck the toes under. Lift your knee off the floor. Reach in front of you with your right hand, left hand. Hands in prayer. And let's bring the right elbow on the outside of the left knee. Relax your shoulders. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, go a little deeper, twist. Keep the shoulders down as if you're not twisting, as if you're just standing. Soften your facial expression. Smile. Slowly coming out of this, lower the knee down, crescent, reach back. And let's bring both hands on the floor. One-legged downward facing dog. One-legged chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga. Exhale. Downward facing dog. Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Ujjayi breath. Spread the fingers open. The feet are hip width apart. Let's come onto the tippy toes. Bend the knees. And jump to the front of your mat. Chair pose. Hands behind your back, clasping. Open the left shoulder up, stay in chair. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Over to the right side. Keep pressing the hands away from your back. Straighten the legs, forward bend. chair pose, and come up to standing, hands over the heart. Step your feet hip width apart. And here we're gonna shift the weight onto the right leg and lift the left leg bar style 10 times. You can bend the standing knee slightly. Contracting the hips here. Keeping the leg out to the side and lifting with control. Try not to swing. Try to contract the hip muscle. And let's come into warrior 3. Level the hips. With the floor, square them. Hands over the heart. Step back. Warrior 1. Hips facing forward. We're going to straighten the legs, right hand on the right hip, square hips. Reach with your left hand as far forward as you can and lower it down either on the floor or on your shin bone. Reach with your right hand up and over the head. Press the right hip back. And let's keep the left hand on the floor, side plank on the left hand and left foot. If you can, stack your feet on top of each other. If not, you can crisscross them or step your right leg on the floor. Lift your hips. Relax your shoulder blades. Reach over your head with the right hand. And either stay here or you can bring your right hand behind you, grabbing the right foot. Either stay here or you can step it back into modified wow thing, holding your ankle. And slowly coming back to side plank. Plank on one hand, reach with the right hand forward, keep the hips level and lower the hand down, plank. And this was definitely level 2. Jump your feet to the front of the mat, toes pointing out, yogic squat. Hands in prayer. And let's straighten the legs, forward bend, keep your feet at the edges of your mat. So a little wider than hip width apart here, a little different way to stretch the hamstrings. And you can grab one leg, right ankle, left ankle twist. Hands on the hips, come up, flat back. And let's go over to the other side, left foot on the floor, lift your right leg 10 times. You can keep a slight bend in the standing knee if you tend to hyperextend. Pay attention to your knees. Do not hyperextend in triangle and in standing poses. Warrior 3. Standing on the left leg, hands in prayer. Stepping back in Warrior 1. Straighten the legs, square the hips. Press the left hip back, press the right hip forward, reach forward with the right hand. Once you've lengthened enough, exhale and lower the hand down. Much better to grab your shin bone here than a block. Learn to use as little as possible. The whole point of the practice is mindfulness, not props. And let's reach over the head with the left hand. If you can grab your shin bone, then you don't need to grab a block. That's my view. And let's stack the feet on top of each other, side plank. Lifting the hips, squeezing the inner thighs towards the midline. strong side plank. Reach over the head with your left hand. Grab your foot behind you, optional. Stay here or you can step back in. Wild thing. And slowly coming into plank, reach ahead of you. Hands on the floor. Downward facing dog. And let's lower down onto our bellies. Lift your legs off the floor, hands off the floor, chest off the floor. Locust pose. And let's bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Lift yourself in one straight line to plank and downward facing dog. Lifting the hips as high as you can. Coming back to your Ujjayi breath. Spread the fingers wide open, pull the belly in. Activating Uddiyana Bandha. And let's come on to the tippy toes. Prepare to either jump or walk to forward bend. Chair. Exhale, forward bend. Step your feet about hip width apart and go into your forward bend. And here you can bring your hands, palms facing up underneath your feet. Press the feet down to relax the hands after all the side planks. Hands on the hips, come up to standing, flat back. Let's bring the hands over the heart. And take a moment to come back to your breath. Create an intention for your day. Be thankful for this moment. Imagine the central axis of your body and observe the balance here. Observe the equilibrium between the left and the right side without judging it or trying to draw a conclusion. Just observe your left and your right with a quiet mind. Breathe into the central axis of your body. Great, and let's shift the weight onto the right leg and here slowly begin to open into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, standing half moon, up until you can lower the right hand on the floor and stack the left hip on top of the right. Shoulders on top of each other, reaching with the left hand up. Flex your left foot, pull the toes back in. Lengthen both sides of your torso here. If you can look up, great. Challenge your balance. Great. From here, square your hips and bring the right hand up, left hand on the floor, revolving half moon pose. Great. Slowly bring one hand around your right ankle, standing half split. See if you can bring your other hand around your ankle. This is definitely a level 3 move. And release the hands on the floor. Step your feet on the floor, flat back, come up to standing. Slowly shift the weight onto your left leg. Open the right hip and begin to lower your left hand on the floor, standing half moon on the left side. Shoulders on top of each other, hips on top of each other. Flex the right foot. Look up towards your right hand. Challenge your balance. And let's release the hands on the floor. Square your hips. Keep flexing that right foot. Right hand on the floor, left arm up, hip square, and see if you can look up towards your left hand. Keep pressing that back heel up. Great. Lower the hands on the floor and bring one hand around your left ankle. See if you can bring both hands around your ankle even for a little bit. Focus on a gazing point on the floor. And release the hands on the floor. Step your feet down. Forward bend. With the feet a little wider than hip width apart. Balancing poses bring awareness to your emotional balance, so practice them, keep coming back to them. Allow yourself to develop balance. Great, let's bring the hands on the hips, flat back, come up to standing, hands over the heart. Coming back to the central axis of the body. Let's take a wide step along the length of the mat. Point the toes out and sit back, plie. Straighten the legs, bend, plie. A few more of those. Bend, come up. Bend, come up. Sit back, straighten, sit, and straighten. And now we're gonna point the toes forward, straighten the feet forward, parallel to each other, and bend forward. Wide-legged forward bend, hands over on the right ankle, and over to the left. Square your hips, don't move your hips, you're just moving here your upper body. You can open your chest up and twist here as you grab your ankle. Optional. A few more of those twists. Hands on the hips and come up with a flat back. Plie squat. We're gonna prepare for kapalabhati breath, breath of fire. You're forcefully exhaling with a ha. Do your best. Work with your hands. As your elbows press back, you're forcefully exhaling with a ha. And let's bring the hands over the heart. Honoring the heart. Staying in the heart. Hands over the knees, twist, look over one shoulder, center, over to the other side. Back to center, hands over the heart in prayer. Reach over to your right and lower your hand down to your right ankle in side angle variation, over to the left. Back to center, this time you can. See if you can clasp the hands behind one side and over to the other, open the chest. Without moving the legs, they're really steady and bending. Great, and from here we're gonna lower down into frog. Knees on the mat, you can double pat your mat. Flex your feet, keep your calves parallel to each other. Here, this is the most common mistake I see. The calves are not parallel to each other, the feet are in. Try to keep your calves parallel to each other. Flex your feet. That way you can get a lot deeper into this stretch. If you have knee pain, avoid this pose, do it on your back. Same thing, just on your back. Optional is to use sandbags on your inner thighs. I will do this in a future therapeutic class. And let's bring the soles of the feet together. Sit back. Child's pose. And coming out of this, downward facing dog. Easy. Take the right leg up, bend the right knee, optional. Wild thing, stepping the foot behind you, lifting the hips as high as you can, back bend. And coming out of this, pigeon pose. Right shin bone on the floor, level the hips, lengthen the spine and lower down. Keep your spine elongated. Flex your right foot to protect your knee and breathe into your hip. This is the perfect time to come back to your Ujjayi breath, the perfect time to come back to your bandhas, applying Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Slowing down your Ujjayi breath and deepening it, guiding your exhalations through the hip. Inhaling from the back side of the body where the heart is, the heart area from the back, as if a ray of light is coming in, and exhaling through the hip. Dusty air. Inhaling light through the heart, exhaling dusty air, allowing everything to release through the hip and go into the earth. Inviting freedom in your hips. Western societies invented the chair, and sitting in a chair is really not suited for our anatomy. So that's why a lot of us suffer hip misalignment, limited flexibility in the hips, pain in the lower back. This is one of the good poses to address, correct this issue. And let's walk the hands back towards us, tuck your toes under and press back into one-legged downward facing dog. Draw circles with your right knee. Step it back down, inhale the left leg up. Open the left hip on top of the right. Wild thing. Look down. Lower the left shin bone on the floor. And come up. Open the chest, elongating the spine, lower down. Make sure your hips are square and level with the floor. Your right foot, the top of the foot should be on the floor. So basically the nail part of the foot, make sure all 5 nails are touching the floor. meaning you are spinning that right hip down. You're not allowing the right hip to open. You can bring your left hand on your left thigh, grab the flesh and roll it down. That's another self-adjustment you can use. And work with your breath. It's the only way you can deepen your practice. That's why you don't see in yoga these forceful stretches that we used to do in gymnastics and in fitness, kind of bouncy stretches. Rather hold and breathe, much kinder to the body. Allows for mindfulness. And my puppy Sofie is making sure my pigeon looks good, my hips are square, level. Tuck your toes under and slowly begin to walk your hands back in. Press back into one-legged downward facing dog and draw circles with your left knee. Feel your hip. Breathe in mobility, movement, fluidity in your hip. Stepping down in downward facing dog. Lower your knees on the floor. Clasp your hands. Elbows are shoulder width apart. Prepare for headstand. Now we're gonna do headstand only the experienced practitioners. The rest can go into half headstand. Just walk your feet in and hold there, developing or working with the alignment. And you can just take one leg up at a time, experiencing the benefits of an inversion. That way you're still going to benefit from the inversion, bringing blood into the head. If you're going into a full headstand, press into your forearms. The weight is in the forearms. When you come out of it, step in a wide-legged forward bend. And let's lower the knees on the floor and come into a seated pose. Here we're gonna go into double pigeon, and we're gonna bring the right knee on the floor, left ankle over the right knee, flex both feet, very important to flex your feet here. And your left knee may not be as low as you can see mine. It doesn't matter. Keep it in the air, but stack the feet or the ankles on top of the knees and the knees on top of the ankles. Keep the ankles and knees aligning. Keep the feet flexing, and you don't have to bend forward. You can stay seated or you can bend forward if your body allows it. Breathe. Double pigeon addresses the hips in a little bit of a different way than pigeon does, so it's good to add it to our hip opening practice. A little different angle. Slowly come up, and here we're gonna continue with the hip openers. Bring the left foot on the floor on the outside of the right knee, right elbow on the outside of the left knee, and twist. You can clasp behind or just stay in the previous stage of the pose. Relax the shoulders. Soften your exhalations. Coming out of this, now we're gonna stack the knees on top of each other. Walk the heels towards your hips. And you can bring your left elbow up by your ear, right elbow by your rib cage. See if you can clasp or just touch your back, and optional bend forward. Another hip opener. Slowly coming out of this. And I'm gonna experiment with just an arm balance that comes straight from this specific pose. We can give it a go and lower down. And we're gonna change sides here. Right knee on the floor, left knee on top of the right ankle. Shin bones are stacking on top of each other, ankle on top of the knee, knee on top of the ankle. Flex your feet. And hold here, either bending forward or just stay seated and breathe. This pose can be quite intense, so just be gentle with your body. Don't push too far. Stay at the place where the stretch feels comfortable. You feel the stretch, yet it's a comfortable stretch. Allow your body to be in a state of relaxation, so stay in a place where you can still relax and the breath is completely relaxed. Soft exhalations, softening the hips. Coming up, and let's bring the foot, the top foot on the outside of the left knee, left elbow on the outside of the right knee. Optional clasping behind. Relax your shoulders, twist and lengthen through the crown of your head. Slowly coming out of this, stacking the knees on top of each other. Walk your heels towards your hips. And let's bring the right elbow up, left elbow by the rib cage, lower down. Release. Here you can work with this arm balance. It's just an improvised arm balance. You can work with any arm balance that comes to mind. This one was quite challenging because it was in half lotus. And release, feet together, Baddha Konasana. Breathe, holding Baddha Konasana. You can fold forward. Great. From here, you're gonna bend your right knee, grab your left foot, straighten the foot. You can work your leg towards your chest, shin bone towards the nose, looking up towards the foot. Changing sides, left knee on the floor, left leg on the floor. Holding the right leg in front of us. Straight back. Release. And let's open the legs out to the sides. Wide-legged forward bend. Flex your feet. Pull the toes back in towards you. And either stay seated or you can bend forward. That might have not been nice to Sofie. Making sure that you are keeping your sitting bones back, grounded as you bend forward. Keep pulling the toes back in towards you. Lifting the kneecaps, engaging the quadriceps. We're stretching the hamstrings, so we're flexing the quadriceps. And you can flex your glutes. We're stretching the opposing antagonist muscles. Opening the inner thighs, the adductors. And coming out, keep the right elbow on the floor on your leg. Reach up and over your head. Switch sides. Lengthening both sides of the torso, shoulders on top of each other. Paying attention to alignment. Coming out of this, you can shake your legs. Inhale, reach over your head, and exhale, forward bend. Seated forward fold. Slowly coming out of this, open the legs a little wider than the width of your mat. And folding forward again flexing the feet, pulling the toes back. Very important. Pay attention to your feet. Great, coming back up, round the back and lower yourself down onto your back. And let's bend the knees, hug them into our chest. Lower back is on the floor. Happy baby. Grab the outer edges of your feet. You can grab the big toes here, or you can grab the inner sides of the feet. Pressing the lower back down. Breathe into your lower back. Let's extend the left leg on the floor. Right knee comes across, a pine twist. Look over to your right. And slowly changing sides, we're gonna bring the left knee in and across. Look over to your left, keep both shoulders on the floor, relax. Soften your breath. At this point you can start letting go of the Ujjayi breath, coming back to neutral, soft breath. And coming out of this, let's bring the legs up and over the head in plow pose. You can clasp your hands, shimmy the shoulders, and if your feet are touching the floor, make sure the top part of your feet is on the floor, so the nails are touching the floor, toenails. Chest is into the chin, softening the back of the throat. This pose is extremely therapeutic, as you know, for the thyroid. Very useful for thyroid conditions, for weight loss, or for fifth chakra conditions when the speech is blocked or there is too much speaking. And let's bend the knees and bring them over the ears. This is one of those introverted poses where you will notice often that introverted people would prefer those coming into yourself poses, to where extroverts like the more opening, back bending poses. Hands on the lower back, shoulder stand, another thyroid supportive pose, or half shoulder stand. You can bring the soles of the feet together in shoulder stand. You can play with it. And slowly lower down out of plow pose. We're using Sofie's training touch and she moves out of the way. And lower your legs slowly down. Soles of the feet together. Reclining Baddha Konasana. Soft, gentle breaths. Softening the belly. Softening the back of the throat here. Allow your shoulders to drop down. Softening the face muscles, softening the jaw. Now let's stretch the hamstrings one more time. Grab your left ankle and bring it over your chest or towards the chest. You can keep them slightly bent if that is your level of flexibility appropriate. And from here, let's bring the feet parallel to each other for bridge. Clasp your hands underneath you. Walk your elbows towards each other. Lift your toes off the floor to activate the arches of the feet. Bringing the chest into the chin again. We're working on that fifth chakra. Soften the back of your throat. Softly breathe. And slowly lower down one vertebra at a time. And lower down in Baddha Konasana again, allowing your knees to drop down heavy to the sides. Now, you can make this a very relaxing end of the class by bringing a few bolsters or a few pillows or a rolled blanket. A rolled blanket works pretty well. You can bring two or fold it like a square blanket and bring them underneath your back. You're gonna bring them all the way to the tailbone and then lay back down on them the way you see me on those pillows in Baddha Konasana. This is a gentle, very gentle back bend, and you can stay here for 5 to 10 minutes if you have the time. Allowing ease and softness in your breath, in your body. Stay here for as long as you need it or as long as it feels pleasant and beneficial to you. Coming out of this should be very gentle, bringing the hands underneath the knees, bringing the knees together, rolling on the side of the body, and then pressing ourselves up. And now we're gonna prepare for hero pose. Bend your knees and either sit or you can lower down. Keep your knees hip width apart and keep them down. Don't let them peel off the floor. Tuck your tailbone under. Feel your quadriceps softening here, melting. Coming back up onto the elbows and folding forward. Keeping the bolsters or the blankets between your legs here, and you can lower down and lay onto your blankets and stay here. You can have your hands underneath your forehead, or you can bring your hands by your feet, allowing the shoulders to really drop without you supporting any part of your body. The shoulders are heavy, the torso is heavy, the head is heavy, the neck is relaxed. Staying here for a few moments in a therapeutic forward bend, allowing for the nervous system to relax. And gently observing the breath. Allowing fluidity in the breath. Unobstructed fluidity. And let's bow to our hearts for their forgiveness, compassion, generosity, and love. Namaste.